Con. Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is the brother Yair Radah coming at y'all with another video through the Spirit, man. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world calls God. Yahweh Shai being the name of his beloved Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. All right. This video today, we're going to get into Revelations chapter 7 and 9, man. Right, so we're going to go through and we're going to break down Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9. Okay, we're going to see what verse 9 is truly talking about. Is it talking about everybody on the face of the earth? Is it talking about all nations of people? Right, so the so-called white man, right, was caught up in heaven. Okay, the so-called East Indian man was caught up in heaven. Okay, the so-called Arab man, the so-called Chinese man, Japanese man, were that can they be caught up in white robes, bowing down before Yahweh Shai? Can they be saved? All right, because a lot of Christians, they like to run to this verse. They don't even read it. They just quote it. All nations, kindreds, tongues, people were caught up. So we're going to go through and we're going to rightly divide the word of truth. We're going precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. All right, and Lord willing, by the end of this video, Salakia, Lord willing, by the end of this video, y'all edified and understand what Revelation 7 and 9 is going into. Or you simply find out some precepts that you may not have known before this video. So we're gonna go through it. All right, we're gonna get started. Salakia, bear with me. We're gonna hop right into it. All right. So this is the book of Revelations, chapter 7 and verse 9. All right. And it reads, "After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and psalms in their hands." All right. So what's that going into? All right. What is it talking about? What's this great multitude of different nations, people, tongues, all types of different things, kindreds, right? What is it going into? All right. Let's deal with it. All right. Let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 9. So we can figure out first who's this great multitude. Okay. Who's this great multitude that's being talked about in the book of Revelation, chapter 7 and verse 9. All right. It's the book of Hosea, chapter 1, and we'll start at verse 9. I'll start at verse 10. Let's get right to the point. Right, this is Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10. It says, "Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God." Now the point that I wanted to this is Israel has always been associated with a great people, a great multitude, a multitude that can't be measured nor numbered. Okay, like I always say, hey, if you think you can go and count the damn, if you think you can go and count the grains of sand, go count it, and then come tell me what that number. When you get done counting the sand grains, count it, and then let me know what the number of it is, and get back with me. All right, I'll see you in Neverland, because you can't do it. You can't number the sand of the sea. You can't, just like you can't number the stars of heaven, man. Okay, so that's that great multitude that is referencing in the book of Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9. That great multitude is talking about the Israelites, because the Israelites are the only multitude that cannot be numbered. Okay, now let's go to the Apocrypha. All right, let's go to the Apocrypha. Salakia. Let's go to the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 2. the book of Second Esdras, chapter 2. God. It's the book of Second Esdras, chapter 2. Salaki. And I want verse 42. Okay. It says, I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. So even Ezra seen the same. Ezra, a lot of people don't understand. Ezra seen a similar vision to what John seen in the book of Revelation, chapter 7. Almost identical, but we're going to get into that. But the point right now is that great multitude that cannot be measured nor numbered is always associated with the Israelites. Right, because whereas the grass, the sand of the sea, the stars of heaven can't be measured nor numbered. So in Revelations, right, chapter 7 and 9, when it says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude. Right off the bat, that great multitude is talking about the Israelites. That great multitude is the Israelites who can't be measured nor numbered. All right, I'm gonna keep saying that. Okay, let's read on. It says, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues. Okay, that's another stumbling block for a lot of our people. Okay, in Christianity, so on and so forth. Okay, it says, I'm gonna read it again. It says, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues. Okay, so let's deal with it. Right, let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 5. Let's go to the book of, let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 5. All right. It's the book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 5, and it reads, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. Because you literally had Israelites that dwelt in all parts of the world. Israelites was not just in Jerusalem. Okay, they just wasn't in Israel. You literally had Jews everywhere upon the face of the earth since the days of old. Okay, you always had Israelites all over the earth. Okay, it said, verse 6, it says, now when this was actually, let's stop right there real quick. I want to deal with something. All right, I'm gonna read that again. Acts 2 and 5. It says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. Okay, why are they in every nation under heaven? Why can an Israelite be found anywhere in the world? In this time that we live in now, even during the time of the book of Acts, during the time of the apostles, okay, even during the time of David, man. Let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 60 and verse 1. It's the book of Psalms chapter 60 and verse 1. And it reads, it says, O God, thou hast cast us off. Thou hast scattered us. Thou hast been displeased. O turn thyself to us again. The point is, we were scattered off. Okay, we've always been scattered off. When the Lord was displeased with us, when we went and started profaning the name of the Lord, sacrificing unto other gods, the Lord scattered us. He told us he was going to do that. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 32, and I want verse 26. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 26, and it reads, I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So not only did he scatter us into the four corners of the earth, but he said, I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Okay? Meaning, hey, People nowadays don't really understand or really know that the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites. You still got people who are asleep to that notion, even though you have thousands of millions of people who actually do know, even though the other nations. But he said, I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So that's why in the book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 5, it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now let's read on. It says, now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying to one another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? So they heard everybody speaking in their own language. All right, it goes to talk about people speaking in the language of who was born in Medes, Elamites, dwellers of Mesopotamia, Judah, Cappadocia, Pontus, Asia, Pamphylia, Egypt, Libya, Cyrene, Rome. So it's going through. So you had all these different languages being spoken at one time. Why? Because you had people being born throughout, or so like you had Israelites being born all throughout the face of the earth, not just in Jerusalem, not just in Israel, but all over the face of the earth. Okay, even Peter. All right, let me get this in the book of James first. Let me get this in the book of James. It's the book of James, chapter 1 and 1. It says, James, a servant of God and of the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greetings. It's plain upon tables. All right, let's get another one. Let's go to the book of 1 Peter, chapter 1 and 1. It says, Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, elect, because a lot of people, they hear that word strangers, but Paul is talking to the elect. They're strangers because they weren't from Jerusalem, or because they're considered strangers because they weren't native necessarily to the land of Jerusalem. Okay, they were born in different places. All right, that's why verse 2, it says, elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father through sanctification of the Spirit unto obedience and sprinkling of the Spirit of the blood of Yahushua Mashiach, grace unto you and peace be multiplied. Right? Who's the elect? Okay. Who's the elect? Real quick. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. All right, real quick. It's the book of Isaiah. Chapter 45 and verse 4. It says, for Jacob my servant sank, and Israel mine elect. Israel mine elect. I have not called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. Okay. So Israel is that elect that is taught, that Peter's talking about in 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 2 and 1. So he's talking to the Israelites that are scattered abroad through places like Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, Bithynia. Okay. Now referencing that back to the book of Acts chapter 2 and verse 5 on down, where they heard people talking in their own language, born in the Elamites land, Rome, so on and so forth. You have people speaking in those different tongues, the same way how we speak English. Why do we speak English? Okay, because guess what? We're born in America. And English, what is the top language in America? Okay, but guess what? You got Israelites who are born in where? Mexico. So what's the number one language in Mexico? Spanish. You got people who born in the Caribbean. in the Caribbean islands. What they speak over there, they speak French and Creole. Okay, so on and so forth. The point is the same way in the book of Acts chapter 2 and verse 5 on down, how you had people or you had Israelites out of every nation under heaven, and they were speaking in their own language, their own tongue. It's the same way we do now. Just like how I'm speaking in the tongue of I'm speaking in the tongue of English. You got people who speak in the tongue of Spanish. You got people who speak in the tongue of French, Creole, so on and so forth. So when you go, right, let's go back to Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9. So when you go back to Revelation 7 and 9, where it says, I'm gonna read it again from the top. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude. We established that multitude is talking about who? That great multitude is talking about the Israelites. Okay, just like we brought out in the book of Hosea chapter 1 and verse 9 on down. And like we brought out in the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 2 and verse 42. That great multitude is always signified and always acquainted with the Israelites, because we can't be measured nor numbered. Reading on, it says, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues. Okay, now those people and tongues, like we just went through the book of Acts chapter 2 and verse 5, right? Acts 2 and 5, 1 Peter 1 and 1, James 1 and 1, Psalm 60 and 1, Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 26, right? We're the ones that scattered abroad into these different nations, speaking different tongues also. Okay, so that's what that's going into. Now it says, stood before and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and psalms in their hands. Now who's that? Okay, who's that? Salakia. Who's the Lamb? Right? Who's the Lamb? Salakia, bear with me. All right, let's go to the book of. Actually, you know what? So I have so many precepts running through my head right now. God. Let's go to the book of. All right, let's go to the book of John. All right, let's go to the book of John. I was gonna go to Genesis chapter 22, but we'll keep it simple. We'll keep it simple. Okay. Bear with me. All right. It's the book of John, chapter 1. So this is the book of John, chapter 1, and verse 29. It says, the next day John seeth Yahushua coming unto him, and saith, behold, the Lamb of Yahweh, which taketh away the sins of the world. All right. So Yahushua is that Lamb. Okay, Yahushua is that Lamb that's referenced all throughout the scriptures. He's that Lamb that's without spot or without blemish. All right, let's get one more. Let's go to the book of Hebrews. Okay. What I want. All right. So like you. Man. I want Hebrews. chapter 10. Okay, I want Hebrews chapter 10. Salakia. All right, let's go to the book of man. You know what? Let's deal with it. Let's go to the book of Genesis. All right, we're gonna kind of get into it. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 22. Let's get into it. I'm looking on time. Okay. We're gonna kind of get into this. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 22, and verse 7. It says, "And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering." So they went both. So they went both of them together. So they're in the book of Genesis, chapter 22, 7 on down. You had Abraham and his son Isaac getting ready to go up, and Abraham was getting ready to sacrifice his son Isaac. They going up, they getting the stuff, they getting the wood together, they getting everything together, right? They getting the altar together, and Isaac like, all right, we got the fire, the wood. Where's the lamb at? Abraham told him, he said, the Lord will provide himself a lamb. Okay, now when you read the rest of this account, they never sacrificed the lamb. I'm gonna say that again. They never sacrificed the lamb. All right, we can get it. Let's jump right to it. All right, let's jump right to it. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22 and verse 13. It says, "And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son." So they never sacrificed the lamb. But remember, Abraham, he told him, he said, look, hey, God is going to provide himself a lamb. What was that lamb? That lamb was Yahushua, who's referenced all throughout the scriptures as being a lamb, right? Let's go to the book of we can go to the book of Revelations also. Chapter 5. We can go to the book of Revelations, chapter 5, and let's start at verse. Let's get right to the point. Okay, let's get right to the point. Let's start at verse. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 5, and verse 5. We'll start at 5. It says, "And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh sent forth into all the earth." Okay, so that lamb, which is what the root of David. Who's the root of David that it talks about all throughout the scriptures? That's Yahweh. Just like it tell you in the book of Acts, chapter 5 and verse 29 on down to 31. Just like it tell you in the book of Acts, chapter 13 and verse 23 on down. All throughout the scriptures, it tells you that he's the root and offspring of David. Even in the genealogies that it tell you about, like in the book of Matthew 1 and 1. Okay, you got Luke chapter 3. right? It tells you all these different things, okay? So that lamb, Salakia, that lamb is going into Yahweh Shai. All right, Salakia. So that lamb is going into Yahweh Shai. Now let's continue on and let's go to the book of let's continue on and let's keep reading. All right, so we're gonna read Revelation 7 and 9 again, and then we're gonna keep going down throughout the rest of the verse and finish the verse. So it says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, which is Yahweh Shai, clothed with white robes. Okay, why do they have white robes on? What does the white robe signify? All right, let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. All right, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 12, and verse 10. It says, many shall be purified and made white. Okay. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. So the ones that are purified, their garments are going to be made white. Why? Because that color white is signified with being pure. Okay, it's purity. That's why the garments are going to be made white in that day. That's why the so-called white man loves to call himself a white man. That's why they associate themselves with what the color white and then what they call us, so-called black, because they understand that the word white signifies what? Purity, even though he's the most impure man upon the face of the earth. Right? Let's get another one. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9. All right. It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, and verse 8. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, and verse 8. It says, let thy garments be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. Okay, meaning what? Let your garments always be pure. Let them always be clean in the sight of the Lord. All right, let's get one more. Let's go to the book of Revelations. Let's go back to the book of Revelations. Right, same chapter, Revelations chapter 7. Let's drop down to verse 14. Okay, Revelation chapter 7 and verse 14. It says, and I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, these are they which came out of the great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Right, so they washed their robe. They kept their garments clean. Okay, they kept their garments clean and they washed their robes. They were found pure in the sight of the Lord. Okay, so that white, right, is signified, that white, clothed in white robes is signified purity, clean. Okay, they're pure, they're clean in the sight of the Lord. Okay, so back to Revelation 7 and 9, right where we left off. It says, and before the Lamb, which is Yahweh Shai, clothed with white robes and psalms in their hands. Okay, now let's go to the book of Second Esdras. All right, let's go to the book of Second Esdras, because Ezra had a similar vision. Ezra had a similar vision that John the Revelator had. They had similar visions and wrote about pretty much the same things when it comes to the end time, right? They wrote about, when it comes to this particular vision, their visions were so similar, it's crazy, right? We're gonna get into it. We read verse 42 earlier, but I want to start at verse 38. Okay, I want to start at verse 38. It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 2, and verse 38. It says, "Arise up and stand, behold the number of those that be sealed in the feast of the Lord, which are departed from the shadow of the world and have received glorious garments of the Lord." So this number that it's talking about is the same number that it's talking about in the book of Revelation, chapter 7, right? The 144,000. Okay, the same way how in Revelation chapter 7 and we'll start at verse 3, it says, saying, "Hurt not the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel." Okay, so you're going to have 144,000 of the tribes of Israel, 12,000 from each tribe. Okay, that's that number that Ezra is talking about being sealed. Okay, who's the 144,000? The 144,000 is the elect governed body of men that's out there doing the work of the Lord, out there shaking their hand, out here prophesying against this wicked kingdom. And not only this kingdom, but wherever they may be spread it out to. Okay, the ones that's boots on the ground, man, right in the line of fire of everything that's wicked, man, prophesying and rebuking it to his face. That's who the 144,000 are. Okay, and it's men. All right, let's real quick. Let's go to the book of real quick. Let me get this quick precept. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 9. I think I'm going to start at 3 or 4. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 9 and verse 4. And it reads, "And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof." Right? So the men that's going out there, shaking the hand, rebuking and prophesying against this wicked kingdom, telling the people to, hey, change your ways, repent, and come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments. Okay, those are the 144,000. Let's get one more. Okay, let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 22. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 22, and verse 9. And it reads, "Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage." Okay, so you have, just like it tell you in the book of Luke, chapter 13, and verse 23 and 24, how to go to the highways and hedges, and compel my people to come in, that the Lord's house may be filled. Right, the ones that's going out there and doing the work of the Lord, is who's going to be the 144,000. Right, the elect governed body of Israel, the government basically of Yasharallah. When the kingdom is set forth and established on the king, when the kingdom of Yahweh is established on earth, right, you're going to have 144,000 of a governed body. Okay, let's get one more in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3. All right, one more. It said, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3, and verse 15. It says, "And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding." Okay, so the Lord is the one that's setting up these men. The Lord is the one that's setting up these men to be able to go out here to the highways and byways, preach and teach the people. Okay, tell our people and compel them to come back in, that the Lord's house may be filled. That's who the 144,000 are. Now, just because you're not a part of the 144,000 does not mean you won't make it. You got a lot of people who think it's just a 144 and that's it. No, the 144 is a part of that 1/3. But the 1/3 is the women, children, etc., etc. Okay, that 144,000 is just the men. Okay, it's just the men. Just like the Lord say all throughout the scriptures, "O ye men." So like it. Let me get this precept in the book of Proverbs. All right, this is the book of Proverbs. Okay, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 8 and verse 4. It says, "Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men." Okay, so the men are the 144,000, right? Then you got the women and the children who will be a part of the 1/3. Okay, so let's get back to Second Esdras. Let's get back to Second Esdras, chapter 2 and verse 39. Okay, it says, "Which departed from the shadow of the world and have received glorious garments of the Lord," right? We're just going into those white robes. Okay, it's going into those white robes. Reading on, it says, "Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Lord." Okay, it said, "Which have fulfilled the law of the Lord." Who fulfilled the law of the Lord? First of all, who got the law of the Lord in the first place? Okay, who got the law of the Lord, right? Let's go to it in the book of Psalms, right? The book of Psalms, chapter 147, right? In verse 19. And it reads, it says, "He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord." Okay, so we know, understand, and we know, brothers should know this. Okay, hey, the Lord gave the law, statutes, and commandments to the Israelites. Okay, so if the law was only given to the Israelites, how can any of the other nations fulfill it? Let's go to the book of Second Esdras, chapter 3. Let's go to the book of Second Esdras, chapter 3 and 32. Actually, we're gonna we can start at 32. It's all good. Right? This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 3 and verse 32. It says, "Or is there any other people that knoweth thee besides Israel? Or what generation hath so believed thy covenant as Jacob? And yet their reward appeareth not, and their labor hath no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they floweth in wealth, and think not upon thy commandments." See, because the heathen don't do these things. The heathen's not thinking about the commandment. The heathens don't, they don't want to, they're not going to follow, they're not going to follow the commandments. They don't give a damn about the commandments or the Lord, truly, like how Israel do. And it's going to tell you that. Okay, reading on. It says, verse 34, "Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and there's also that dwell in the world, and so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name have kept thy precepts, but not the heathen." You see that? So it said, but not the heathen. Okay, so when you reading Second Esdras chapter 2 and verse 41, and where it says, "The number of the children, the number of thy children whom thou longest for," or Salakia, verse 40, verse 40 says, "Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white," which is the pureness of the 144, "which have fulfilled the law of the Lord," because they're the ones that fulfilled the law of the Lord, who kept the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability, who kept the faith, who endured unto the end. All right, let's read on. It says, "The number of thy children whom thou longest for is fulfilled." Just like it tell you in the book of Revelations chapter 7, that number is going into who? It's going into the 144,000. That's why I keep saying that number is going into the 144. just like it said, hurt not the earth or the trees or the sea until the number of them that are supposed to be sealed are sealed, roughly paraphrasing. All right, let's read on. Verse 41. The number of the children whom thou longest for is fulfilled. Beseech the power of the Lord, that thy people, which have been called from the beginning, may be hallowed. Who did the Lord call from the beginning? All right, let's go to the book of Salakia. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. And let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 46 and verse 10. All right, let's see who's the Lord dealing with from the beginning, because you have to understand that everything was already ordained from the foundations of the world, from the very, very beginning. The Lord already set all this out, mapped everything out, chose what he was going to do, who he was going to do it to, all the way from the foundations of the world. Okay, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 46 and verse 10, and it reads, it says, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasures. Okay, so the Lord already established all this from the beginning. So let's see who he chose from the foundations of the world. Okay, let's go to the book of Ephesians. Let's go to the book of Ephesians. Okay, this is the book of Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse 4. It says, I'm gonna start at verse 1. Actually, I'm gonna start at verse 4. Let's get right to the point. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse 4. It says, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundations of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. You see that? And that's talking about the Israelites. Let's read on. It says, having predestinated us unto the adoption of the children by Yahushua Mashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. So the Israelites was the one that was chosen from the foundations of the world. Let me read verse 4 again. It says, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. Let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 105 and verse 6. Actually, let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 44 and verse 1. Right? Who is the Lord chosen? Because it said who the Lord have chosen from the foundation, from the beginning, from the foundations of the world. So let's see who the Lord chose. Right? This is the book of Isaiah, or who's the Lord chosen. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 44 and verse 1. It says, yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Plain upon tables. Right? That's plain. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 105. All right. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 105 and verse 6. It says, O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. That's plain. That's plain upon tables. Okay. So the Lord, the ones who were chosen from the foundations of the world, is talking about the Israelites. Okay. We went to it just now in the book of Psalms, chapter 105, in the book of Psalms, chapter 105 and verse 6, Isaiah, chapter 44 and verse 1, Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse 4 and 5. Okay. And you can go to Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse 11, right? Isaiah, chapter 46 and 10, all throughout the scriptures, you have the Israelites, right? First and foremost, everything was ordained from the beginning. But then you have the Israelites who were chosen from the foundations of the world. That's who it's talking about in the book of Second Esdras, chapter 2 and verse 41, where it says, the number of the children of Israel that thou longest for is fulfilled, beseech the power of the Lord, that thy people which have been called from the beginning may be hallowed. Right now, verse 42, I Ezra saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. Okay, and like we established at the beginning of the video, the ones that cannot be measured nor numbered is talking about the Israelites, according to Hosea chapter 1 and verse 9 on down. Right, a numbered as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. Okay, so right, let's go back. Let's go back to actually let's keep reading on. Okay, let's keep reading on. Let's keep reading on. Okay, it says, verse 43, and in the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest, which is talking about Yahweh Shai. It says, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. Okay, so it said he said this man that stood taller above all the rest, okay, he set crowns on their heads. Okay, he set crowns on their heads. Right, who's setting crowns on our heads? Right, let's go to the book of Salaki. Let's go to the book of 1 Peter chapter 5. Let's go to the book of 1 Peter chapter 5. Salaki. It's the book of 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 4 is what I want. It says, and when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. Okay, so that chief shepherd, who is the chief shepherd? It's talking about Yahweh Shai. Okay, we're shepherds, we're the men of the Lord. Okay, we're shepherds over the flock on the smaller level. That's what, when you read from the beginning of chapter 5, that's what Peter's talking about, being a shepherd over the flock. But he said, when the chief shepherd, which is who? Yahweh Shai, when he comes, right? I'm going to read it again. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. Okay? So when Yahweh Shai comes, he's going to set what? He's going to give the elect crowns and set crowns upon their heads. All right? Real quick. I think I got, let me get another. This is the book of James, chapter 1 and verse 12. It says, blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive a crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that loved him. Okay, talking about the Israelites. James was writing this to the Israelites. Tell you that in James 1 and 1. Okay, let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 45 and 4. All right, we already brought this out, I think, but let's go back to it again. Right, Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 4. Okay, Salaki. It says, for Jacob my servant's sake and Israel mine elect, I have called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. So the point is, right, the ones that are going to be receiving crowns, like it's talking about in the book of Second Esdras, chapter 43, where it says that he set crowns upon them. That's talking about the Israelites, like we read in 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 4. Where it said, when the chief shepherd shall appear, right, he shall give them a crown that shall not fade away, a crown of glory that shall not fade away, roughly paraphrasing. All right. So we just broke down Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9. We went through the precepts. We even linked it up with 2nd Esdras chapter 2 and verse 38 all the way down to 43. Because when you read it and you really read it, you can see how they really had or they prophesied it and had a vision of pretty much the same thing. They had the same or similar, I'll put it like that. They had a similar vision. They seen the same thing. Okay. They seen the end. They seen the elect, right? They seen the 144,000. They seen the 1/3, and they seen Yahweh. When you read Second Esdras chapter 2 and you read Revelation chapter 7, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And in both accounts, it's linked up to who? The Israelites. It's talking about the Israelites. It's not talking about the other nations. Okay, it's not talking about the damn Arab man can be saved. It's not talking about the damn Chinese man can be saved, nor the so-called white man. Don't get caught up and don't get discombobulated just because the scriptures say, and I've seen a number and it had every nation, tongue, kindred, and people in it. Okay. Hey, the Israelites, man, hey, we amongst all nations, man, kindred, tongues, and people. Okay. So don't get caught up in that different stuff, man. Right now, you should be able to have precepts to be able to go through, rightly divide the word of truth when it comes to the book of Revelation, chapter 7 and verse 9. Okay. So with that, we're going to close up. Lord willing, y'all's edified through the Spirit, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Kwam Yasha Allah, stay fervent in the Spirit, continue to endure Israel. We almost at the end. You see the times of the signs continuing to happen. You got blood moons happening every week. You got something going on with some type of war and rumors of wars continuing to brew up, right? And the Lord is the one that's doing all those different things, man. The Most High God is the one that's putting it in these different nation spirits to continue to headbutt each other. To continue to have these nations tensions continue to rise up. You tell you that in the book of Proverbs chapter 21. Proverbs 21 and 1. The king's heart is in the hands of the Lord. He turneth it whichever way he will. Roughly paraphrasing. Okay. So the Lord is the one that's controlling the minds of damn Kim Jong-un, the damn China president, the damn Iraqian president, Russia's president, damn Vladimir Putin, whatever the case may be. Hey, the Lord is controlling them, man. The Most High God is the one that's putting it in their minds to be able to say, oh, man, I don't like America no more. Nobody likes America anymore. Hey, none of these nations like each other, man. You have these alliances being formed that was already being formed from the beginning, but it's continuing to lock on. And at any moment in time, all hell can break loose and World War III can happen. At any point in time, China can bomb Taiwan. At any point in time, Israel can get into it with the ones they've been getting into. All hell could break loose at any point in time. Okay, so it's important, right, as men and women of the Lord, man, that you stay prayed up, stay fasting in these last days, stay occupied in the prophecies and in the scriptures. Pray without ceasing, man. Make sure you repent in these last days and make sure that you're on fire in these last days, man, so that you can be I'm gonna bring this out, right? Let me bring this out. Then we're gonna hop off. Right. But let me bring this out real quick in the book of Luke. Right. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21. Right. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21. And I want to get right to the point. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21 and 36. It says, watch ye therefore and pray always. Okay, it said pray always, man. Meaning pray without ceasing. Pray always that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. Pray to the Most High that you're able to see the destruction of your enemies. Okay, because there's nothing more beautiful than that, right? Real quick, let me get that in the book of Sirach. All right, let me get that in the book of Sirach, chapter, I believe, 25. All right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 7. It says, there be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue, a man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemies. See, our forefathers would have rejoiced to be able to see the different things that's going on right now throughout the earth, man. To see what's going on with Babylon the Great right now, man. So you got to do the same thing, okay? And realize the opportunity that you have. It'll be a blessing to be able to see the downfall of America, man. To see the downfall of Babylon the Great, man. Right? To see the nuclear warheads start hitting the earth, man. All right. Lord willing, hey, you get beamed up in that chariot. I don't want I desire, hey, we get beamed up, man. Lord willing, I get beamed up. All right. So you want to continue to pray, fast, stay diligent in the studies. All right, let me get this last one. All right, last one. All right, this is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 14 and verse. I want to get right to the point. This whole thing, all right. This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 14, chapter 14 and verse 14. Right? It says, let go from the mortal thoughts, cast away. Actually, I'm gonna start at 13. This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 14 and verse 13. It says, now therefore set thine house in order and reprove thy people, comfort such of them that be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. All right, straight like that. Let me get one more. All right, one more. This is the book of Salakia. It's the book of 2 Timothy. This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2 and verse 3. It says, thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Because everybody, hey, if you in this truth, man, hey, you a soldier for Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. So you have to endure hardness. You have to understand that it's not going to be easy in this truth, man. You have to understand that, look, you got to do whatever it takes to obtain that kingdom. You got to do whatever it takes to stay in the spirit. You got to do whatever it takes to make sure you read and pray and fasting, right? You're not skipping weeks. You're not skipping days, so on and so forth, okay? You got to take heed to all of these different things and be a good soldier. Endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. Reading on, it says, verse 4, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life. So you can't entangle yourself with the affairs of this life also, man. The things of this world, hey, let it be of the world, right? Because we not of the world, man, right? We're put outside of this world, right? We have separated ourselves from Babylon the Great, while everybody else still in the matrix being controlled by Babylon the Great. Okay, reading on. It says, no man that warreth entangle himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. And that's Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah, man. So you got to always remember to stay steadfast in this truth, to abound in the work of the Lord, continue to read, pray, fast, study, pray without ceasing. Pray for more faith in these last days, because perilous times is coming upon the earth. It ain't going to be too much longer to the point to where brothers and sisters are going to be able to lay in their home, in the comfortability of their home, sitting in front of the fireplace. You got the fireplace going, right? You watching movies all day, all night, right? You get to lay in your bed. You got the big comforter that's just laid up over you, man, right? And you watching Netflix. Hey, those days is going to be coming to an end shortly, man. And you have to realize these different things, okay? You ain't just going to be able to get food at your own leisure whenever you want to in your house. You get up, you go to the refrigerator, you scratch your belly, right? You yawn, you stretch your arms all the way out. Your bones is cracking. Okay, you scratch your head, and then you close the refrigerator back. Then you go on top of the refrigerator and grab the Lucky Charms. Hey, you ain't gonna always be able to do that, man. So you have to make sure you praying for faith in these last days, and make sure that you just continuing to seek the Most High and be on fire for the Lord in these last days. All right, this was a breakdown on Revelation 7 and 9, but Most High, brothers and sisters just got to realize the times that we living in these last days. It's imperative. Okay. So with that, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah, Lord willing, y'all was edified through the Spirit. Right? Kwam Yasha Allah. Shalom.